and welcome to the Kadima Christian Ministries YouTube channel. My name is Sara Porter. This is Dina Fox.
Hello.
And we are here today to talk about some pertinent issues that are happening in the American school system today. We did want to discuss your experience with your youngest child at a local school here in Tampa that you've had him at for several years, which is one of the top charter schools here in the Tampa Bay area. It's got an extremely lengthy list of parents who are just vying and waiting. Some people take some years to get into the school. And I'm sure you were very excited when your child got selected to be there.
Shocked, really.
Yeah, because it's like I said, a ton of people apply. And I know we had been discussing in the spring about, how you were feeling about the school, with all of the changes that had been talked about at a national level, some of the things we'd seen happening in other schools in different states like Virginia and Oregon specifically, and what you felt like the outlook was going to be for that school. And I know at that time you felt like you would hopefully, that you thought you had maybe a few more years before things got too much.
Yeah, I was really hopeful.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I was. Yeah. So we when we home educated our olders, we used a couple of different methods of education, one of which was the Charlotte Mason method, and a lot of kind of Waldorf inspired things and eclectic learning. So we were excited to see that one of the local charter schools had, they didn't know the names of those methods were, but they essentially were doing the methods and actually using some of the curriculum that I had already purchased for kindergarten for like spelling and writing and things that are actually homeschool curriculum. So I kind of piqued my interest, and we went ahead and put him in the lottery for that, and he didn't get in. He was, they did the lottery in the spring, so he was in pre-K when they did the lottery, and he didn't get in. I was so disappointed, but because I was praying about it, and we really only had peace about either going that direction or going to homeschool. And because I obviously can do that, and I have resources, but it was weighing on my heart that he really, that wasn't the best situation for him. And this particular charter school was very convenient for us as well, which was helpful with aging parents I'm caring for. The first year was wonderful. I mean, it was absolutely wonderful. When he got in, I was so excited. They called me 10 days after school started and said they had a spot for him. I cried because I knew that I needed assistance at this place in life for his education, that we needed a community of people to do it with who would be there Monday through Friday and carry the bulk of the leading for it. And he got in, so the first year was absolutely wonderful. It was magical. And then in March, during our magical, wonderful, fabulous year, coronavirus hit. Wah, wah, wah. And we were robbed of the end of kindergarten. I was so upset. I was like, no, this is the year you don't want to have to miss. Why couldn't it have happened during fractions? But it didn't. It happened during coloring and
fun stuff,
skipping around. And it was a loss. It was just a real loss. And of course, the whole world was going through loss. We weren't alone. And we, it was what it was. And then the next year, because the campuses were closed down to any visitors, I've never had peace about my children being anywhere where I wasn't allowed to be. So because I had educated for years and have a reputation in the community for what I've done with my nonprofit and my teaching over the years as well, I was able to go in as a substitute teacher at the school, and that gave me the ability to really see what was going on campus, even though there were restrictions. And God blessed us again with an amazing first grade teacher. She'd actually been there for a very long time, and both the teachers that we had were absolutely wonderful. And I just want to stress that not all the things we're going to talk about are because the teachers want them to happen. There are some strong strings pulling a lot of things connected to agendas and funding in our schools.
And anything that we discuss, we are not about bashing teachers at all. I have family members that are teachers that have been teachers for decades in different school systems. So I have nothing but the utmost respect for teachers. But we do realize that, unfortunately, they are trying to keep their job, which is not like a negative thing, like they have bills to pay And if they step out of line, even if they are like a faithful Christian, you know, whatever, they still have to operate within the guidelines of the school. And if they step out of that line, that they can get reprimanded. They can lose their job. There can be a lot of issues and a lot of stressors.
There can. So while I was in the school, which would have been last year, so 2020-21 school year, subbing in all different grades, I got an up close and personal of what is in these classrooms, what is being taught, what the students are talking about, what parents do and do not know about what is being presented and taught and promoted, and what is mandated from counties and teachers unions in the classrooms. And I was shook, Sarah, to be quite honest. I was shook. I saw, I don't know that they even know the name of it, but I saw critical theory being taught in the schools and in the curriculums. I saw that all the way down, it seemed to be around second grade where it starts. I didn't realize that until this fall when school started, but up and down, it's through the looking glass. Right is wrong and wrong is right. Their genders are fluid. Girls can be boys and
Little Nas
boys can be
X.
girls.
I heard that Little Nas X's book was on
in the second grade classroom. I saw that also in this environment there were several elementary school young trans identifying students dressing as the other gender, and the children were being taught to celebrate that, embrace that, celebrate that, and affirm that. And they were being required to call them by their preferred pronoun. That was very confusing for my son. It was very confusing and shocking for me as a 50-year-old. And I started questioning. I was looking at what grades was this really beginning, and obviously we all know about the hardships of middle school. So that didn't surprise me that the middle school would be doing that. But when I started seeing it in the second and third grade classroom, I was shook. And I sat back and I said, I think maybe we'll be okay for him to be here until about third grade. Then I think at third grade, we'll probably need to make our exit and find another situation. But I was wrong. I started attending all of the board meetings, because by law, you have to, in any public situation, be allowed to view the board meetings. And I went and I spoke, and I saw that what we said was what I called, it was Charlie Brown's teacher. They just heard the parents, the board would hear the parents speaking wah, 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 and then they wouldn't address it. Thank you for sharing. It was just, thank you for sharing. And then they would do whatever they want.
And it was a good amount of parents, from what you've said, right? That agreed with you.
Yes, this fall we had, for different reasons, all tied to basically to parental rights and parental consent for things that are happening with curriculum, health, and gender on campus. 60 to 70 parents showing up to attend the board meetings.
And it's a small school, so 60 to 70 parents, it's a good chunk.
About a quarter of the campus parents were taking the time to engage, write letters, go to board meetings, and we're being given a consistent, we follow standards and guidelines, thank you for your interest, this is what we're doing. And we had no recourse. My son went into second grade, and I looked around and noticed that there were diversity posters now up. And that was not just diversity of color. I have no issue with I do believe there should be representation of different races throughout the classrooms. That's wonderful. But it was diversity of sexuality, diversity of thought. My second grader came home and said, he was only there for 10 days. He came home and said, you can have two truths. You can have your truth and I can have my truth, and they're both truth. And I realized that conversations were grooming them through curriculum and through classroom conversations, whether or not anybody knew that's what it was called. But it was
moral relativity.
Grooming them for moral relativism. And I got chills. Then I found out that all materials had put in every classroom K through 8 for critical theory, gender identity, and political, and how do you even say it? Non-traditional ways of life.
Yeah.
And a book was put in his class by Lil Nas X about how great it can be for a boy to dress like a girl.
So this isn't just like children coming to school, you know, maybe middle school, which you would typically see, mostly historically, you would see young men, I guess at some point feeling like they identify as a female. That's historically who you see identifying as this. But this is not something that's coming from a child's desire. Like, this is something, and you use the term grooming. This is something that's an external influence,
yes,
that is trying to influence these kids when they are at a very formative level in life, right?
Yes, there is a push this year, instead of saying boys and girls, to just say friends. Because that way, if anybody, this is through that in second grade, that feels maybe like they don't feel like a girl or a boy, they won't be triggered by the word boy or girl. Now the children are not doing this.
Yeah.
This is the verbiage being taught by the administration on how to have a more gender neutral classroom.
Wow.
I had no words, and I couldn't sleep, and I went, okay, I believe that the spirit has left the building.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to pull him out. And I cried because I had invested greatly in this community, and I love everyone there. In fact, I'm still like supporting the teachers with getting them supplies and stuff, because I really have, I had to quit and not agree to be there. And what it really tied into is I will not be a part of any program that is taking away parental rights and going into areas that God has ordained for parents and the church to stand.
Yeah.
And that means, right now it means public and charter schools.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's unfortunate. And I know, you know, again, we had spoken about this, and I think I was a little bit surprised as well. I mean, you see things coming down the pipeline, but I know, again, we discussed, like, even with our governor, you know, Governor DeSantis is, you know, very anti-critical theory in the classroom, very anti, you know, pushing the transgender agenda in the schools. So I think we felt maybe a little bit more protected here in Florida.
Yes.
But even with that, even with those kind of protections in place, we're still seeing it crop up.
We are.
By, administrations, by sometimes rogue teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's getting pushed.
It is getting pushed. It is becoming a place where it's no longer reading, writing, arithmetic, science, social studies, whatever specials that school does. It's becoming completely marinated social agenda.
Yeah.
And a place for kids to talk about development and psychology and religion and worldviews at a very young age, where I always say, I don't know how they're going to find the truth if they're told there's so many options for it.
Yeah.
And that's really where we are, my husband and I want our children to be in a place where they can trust authority to be telling them truth. And I cannot leave my child in a place where they're going to have to second guess every day whether that's real or not, and then start to second guess whether I'm right or not. It will undermine my parental authority and the biblical authority, because children are forming their view in these years of what is up and down, right and left.
Yeah.
They're not abstract yet, they're concrete, and they need to know that they know that they know what is true. They play fantasy to figure out how to live.
Yeah.
And now children are being presented with, maybe there's not even a gender, or maybe there's 10 genders.
Yeah.
Maybe there's no God, maybe there's 10 gods.
Yeah.
Maybe there's authority should be respected unless you don't.
Yeah.
And when the school board here locally, and a bunch of other large school boards in counties, which some of the charters tend to follow the county they're in.
Yeah.
Ours did, not all have, thankfully. when they said, we don't respect the rule of law in Florida and what our governor has said, and we don't respect the Parents' Bill of Rights, I knew that we were in a place where we could no longer afford to be in the middle ground of teaching over things that were happening.
Yeah.
We were now in a place that was like Alice through the looking glass. And we had to say no. We have to firmly go into a camp of we draw the line here.
Yeah.
So we drew the line, we pulled him out. I quit substituting, and we chose to take a few days to breathe, pause, mourn, cry, all of that. And then we put him in a private Christian school here in the area.
Yeah.
There's a cost, obviously, which is why we didn't do it years ago, because it would have been, we could not have done it when we were younger. Now we can make it happen with resources and help from our own family. And we're in a stage of life that we can. But so many people I know are sitting there at that charter school right now wringing their hands because they have to work and they have no safe place to take their child.
Yeah, that's a hard place to be because, and we both know, as parents, my girls are, 15 and about to be 13, how important it is to lay a firm foundation when they're young.
Yes.
Because it does influence how they see the world, how they take in information. So when they're learning, like you said, that whatever they want to be true can be true, and that there really is no truth, that's going to affect what they do in life. And as Christians, we are concerned with their faith.
Absolutely.
And it is absolutely going to undermine their faith in the credibility of God and the Bible. But thank you so much for joining us for our little video podcast, I guess. I don't know if it's a podcast. Vlog. I don't know. Our first little thing. I hope I didn't say too much, but thank you so much for joining us today. We really do appreciate it. We hope that you found this information interesting and edifying. So please like, subscribe, share. You can definitely support us. We will take, support so that we can help support kids. So the support doesn't go to us. It's not going to my pocket or Dina's pocket. It goes, to the schools, to the kids, and then hopefully, God willing, someday we can start our own school as well. So again, thank you so much for joining us. You can, down below, we'll have links to our website, links to some useful stuff for the Step Up Scholarship. But again, Dina Falk, Sara Porter, Kadima Christian Ministries. Thank you so much.
Goodbye.